stop the chat here. So I will now hand over to the lovely Nikki and Rod. So over to you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you, Karen. Yes, so yeah, I'm Nikki Wilden. Used to be mid-county, but now I'm supplier relationship manager at Mudballs. See Rod Adlington from Adlington Limited, and my colleague George Organ, who's here, and commercial manager.
Outside our minds for the time being.
And we are literally, so thank you very much for all booking on. We are literally going to have a conversation because Rod, I've known you for about 8 years.
Long time.
You've been working with mid-county
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah.
I visited the farm.
Yeah.
So I've seen the standards, and obviously at this time of year when people are making their choices on where they're going to get their poultry from, this is why we're delighted to have you.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah. So obviously third generation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So who started it?
My grandfather.
Okay.
Started the farm as a hobby of all things in 1956. With a few turkeys. Not quite sure why. He must have been very bored. But oh no, that's right. My grandmother had been to New Zealand. In those days, they didn't fly. Went on a ship. They went on the ship and came back and had seen turkeys in New Zealand. That's where the idea came from.
Right.
And so we're trying to go there. So I started farming a few turkeys.
Okay.
Yeah, and they used to hang them in the garage at home. I remember it well. My grandparents' garage as a kid, and it was And for a long time, it was just quite a small business.
Yeah.
Until sort of the mid-60s.
Okay, and then what changed in the mid-60s?
I suppose mid-60s, early 70s possibly. My parents became more involved. I mean, they weren't. My mother was a farmer. My father was in the car industry, and I think he became more and more fed up with the car industry. And it sort of came around that 1974, he went to Morton College, did a week's course on turkey farming, and off they went.
Okay.
Sort of turned into more of a commercial business.
Sure.
But still very seasonal. Still all that turkey.
Okay.
Still all that Christmas.
Okay. So who were they retailing then? That was just within the local area?
Yeah, just the butchers. Of which, of course, in those days there were a lot more. There were a lot of butchers. Most high streets had 4 or 5 butchers on them.
Sure.
And villages had 2 or 3 butchers. So there was plenty of people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very, very different. And yeah, that's how it was. Very traditional.
Okay. So if anybody Googles, Google is my best friend. If you went on and you Google who was one of the best turkey producers in the UK, Adlington does come up there in the top 5. It does, and I did it this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
And obviously, to be one of the best, you have to have hit certain criteria.
Yes.
So, can you share what that is?
Yeah. I mean, I came along in 1989, and my parents had been farming all year round turkeys for a while, which is completely different to Christmas turkeys. It's far more commercial, and even so, we were never going to be. I never had a desire to be Bernard Matthews or be particularly big. So if we're going to remain to be a small producer, we need to be the best we could and be different.
Yeah.
So we just the turkey world's quite a small world, and there's plenty of advice out there and people can talk to. So through talking to these the sort of the elders of the industry, you gain information, and I don't forget. A certain gentleman whose name escapes me, I'm sorry for a minute, I can't remember. His whole life he was a turkey geneticist. Now there's a job. He's responsible for developing the modern breeds of turkey, because also the UK is the world's centre for turkey breeding. So in this country there's a business now called Aviagen, used to be called British United Turkeys, but we would invent and develop the breeds of turkey, and we would export them all over the world, the actual chicks and the eggs, so and the breeding stock. So he worked for them, and he said to me many years ago, he said, Rod, no one will listen to me, but will you feed your turkeys whole oats for me? I went, well, why not? You're the boss. You know. He said, no one, none of the really big commercial people will listen to me. He said, but it's absolutely the way forward. So it must have been 25, 30 years ago, we started feeding whole oats for an example. And we just used to put them at bit in their finishing ration. And then we started to increase the ration more and more and more. So turkeys have a very natural feed anyway, but towards the last 6 weeks of their life, we feed them oats. And over the last few years now, literally towards Christmas, the processing time, they are literally just eating whole oats. But since we've been feeding them whole oats, we've never had to use any antibiotics. And that's just complete coincidence, but the more natural the feed, the less intervention you need to have. So that was, and it wasn't, we got asked, we have obviously DEFRA inspections, we got asked for our medical records and our medicine cabinet. I said, well, I can't remember where it is, because I haven't used medicines for so long. I sort of started to think, most poultry farmers would use medicines as routine, we never have. And actually it coincided that it was the feeding of oats, whole oats straight from the field, that meant that we didn't need to feed medicines. So that's one example of how listening to these people and being different makes a difference.
So literally food is the medicine.
Seriously, yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And trying to keep them as natural to their so we only use slow growing breeds.
Yeah.
We can use commercial turkey breeds, or the traditional breeds, which are slow growing, and therefore put the meat on my farm slowly, you get better texture, better flavour.
Yeah.
Um,
And may I interject then? So obviously most of the turkey breeds that people are familiar with are bronze.
Bronze, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the new world, bronze, yes.
What else?
Well, we use whites, so bronze and whites are the same poultry stock, it's just different parent stock. So, but the whites are, I'm a great fan of the white free range. I don't want to confuse things, it might not be on the list, but the bronze is certainly the modern trend. It's slower growing. It's certainly, I think the dark feathers have made people, it certainly evokes Christmas. So certainly most of our turkeys now, we do 70% bronze, but 30% white still.
Right.
But everything's slow growing.
Yeah.
It's traditional.
So interesting that you mentioned about the oats as well, because some very good friends of mine are turkey farmers, and they actually shared with me that actually a turkey, never challenge a turkey to a race, because they actually are very, very fast.
They are.
They are.
They are
They
incredibly
can run
fast.
between 15 to 20
Yeah.
miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do, and we've always traditionally put, some turkey farmers leave their free range turkeys out at night behind the electric fence, but foxes still get in, and you still get, you can get some quite unpleasant interludes. So we've always put them away at night, but inevitably you will be driving ushering these turkeys towards the shed, and as you say, you'll get that last little naughty group almost in the shed, and they'll turn around and they'll run across the field all the way to the farm. And it's always they're very fast.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I've been and I visited your farm, and I think people always like to be able to kind of picture the life of a turkey. So when the turkey is first born, and the egg, what's the journey? Can you just talk us through the process? Because obviously lots of people are asking.
Yeah, so turkeys are very have a very bad rap for not really having the greatest will to live. They seem to put their feet in the air quite easily compared to a chicken. If you're farming chicken, which we also do as well, then chickens have a real will to live and they will fight to live. Whereas a turkey, the first sniff of a disease and it will put its feet in the air. So the first 7 weeks for the turkey are really critical. So the turkeys will arrive on our farm as day-old chicks, and then we put them in very carefully into rings under heat of 300 per ring. So it's a wire ring with lots of lovely fluffy shavings and a big heat lamp. But for the first 2 weeks, we literally get 24-hour works. We check them every 2 hours through the day and night. So even at night, we're getting up and making sure they're behaving themselves, not doing anything crazy, like which they have a habit of doing. So just throwing themselves in a corner and just they get stuck on their back sometimes. Right. They might, I don't know, they just do all sorts of mad things.
Yeah.
So the first 2 weeks is critical, and then you get a bit more relaxed, and you can't really relax totally until you get about 7 weeks. And then they don't go outside until 12 weeks. So.
And then where do they get when they get moved outside?
So they tend to stay in the same building. They just expand into the building, and then we do have some go out into polytunnels, but again it's shelter at night and out in the day.
Yeah.
They have 24-hour food and water, so they come in and come out. And they have a lovely life, really. Yeah. Very happy.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they need stimulation as well, don't they? So they need to be kind of active and playing with things. friends that I was referring to, they actually give them their turkey footballs to peck, play with.
Yeah, absolutely. We build, we still use the small straw bales. So we build straw bale castles and forts for them, and they jump all over them and in them and around them. We hang up old CDs, of people who don't know, not particularly fond of. I wouldn't hang my best CDs, but old CDs, the old silver CD. I love picking at those. Sprout tops,
Okay.
nettles, bunch of nettles. I love anything that leads them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all that.
Yeah.
And lots and lots and lots of deep bits of straw. So we put them down every day. They just get buried in there, and I love it.
And so the lifespan then of the turkey, because obviously a lot of commercially produced poultry actually have a very shorter lifespan, aren't they? Which is why the product is not as good, isn't it? And different. Yeah, I can say more. I'm not being very political. Yeah. So what's the lifespan of the
so 6 months basically. So 22 to 24 weeks. Whereas a commercial turkey will be 16 to 18 weeks, but all sorts of different type of breeds, fast growing turkeys. So we don't so we have 7 different breeds to give us. Obviously with a turkey, you need a weight range, because we need a weight range at Christmas from 4 kilo up to 10 kilo. Now, if I was a commercial farmer, I would just have 1 or maybe 2 breeds. If I wanted something a bit smaller, I would just, unfortunately, kill it younger, which is so you don't get any quality, but all of our breeds, each breed is a breed for that size of turkey.
Okay.
So each size of turkey, or whatever size it is fully finished.
Yeah, and that's really helpful to know, because I know that from a store and from when customers are asking, isn't it, that they want a specific weight, then isn't it?
But some people perceive that a smaller one might be younger or scrawny, but that should never be the case. We have the small breed are called super midi, and they're lovely. They're tiny little cute little things, and then they get bigger, and we have they go up through the breeds up to big ones. But each breed has its own conformation and will be its own finished article.
Yeah.
Rather than being something that's not the right conformation.
So when you said about whites and bronze earlier, is that what defines that? Is that like a super mini bronze, or is it like a? What's like the clarification?
It's funny. It's the same from a genetic point of view. It's the same mother, different father.
Yeah. Okay.
And we just have. It's weird, isn't it? We have some areas. So we have some. I mean, some of our butcher shops we've dealt with. I can't even think. 3 generations have been with them forever. And there's one in Birmingham, in Castle Bromwich, which was lovely people. And last year we got a bit short on weights, so we thought we'd help them out, and we sent them some bronze turkeys, thinking that would be. They wanted white turkey, but we sent them bronze, thinking that we were giving them more than obviously, but only charging for white. So we thought it was a good thing. They weren't very impressed. They couldn't sell a turkey with a black feather in it. Their customers were so used to the white turkey, they just wouldn't have them. So it was quite weird. So it's different areas, different people expect different things.
Yeah.
But I mean, the bronze is mostly the way forward.
Yeah. Obviously, reference that to other poultry. So we've got the cockerels as well.
Yeah.
For Christmas. Personally, I will have a cockerel for Christmas, and I think that goes back to my childhood, and the fact that I was brought up in Wales, and that historically my family always used to rear the cockerel.
Yeah.
And then they would have the cockerel for Christmas. So they would
Well, there's a theory that cockerels, because cockerels are actually very hard to rear. Something that very difficult to get a chicken to do. To be that well, because cockerels are 14 weeks old, and chickens aren't. Anyway, it's a bit tricky. So, but there's a theory the whole thing came about because they were used to tidy up the apple orchards in Hereford. Eat all the windfalls after the cider harvest, and then they became a cash crop for Christmas.
Yeah.
So that was the time. So, funny enough, we again with our crop was always looking to be a bit different and always looking to try and have a really happy bird. We feed our cockerels apples, and guess what? They love them. You can't feed an apple to a turkey. Give an apple to a turkey, it was not interested. But give an apple to a cockerel, and they go wild for them. So maybe that theory is correct about the apple.
Yeah. Because they used to be them capons, they were called, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then that, because a capon is a castrated Possible,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah, that's right, yeah. But that's now, that process is not allowed
No.
anymore, is it? No, okay, yeah,
But again, it's about using, I mean, even with our English label chicken, it's about using a slower growing breed, but you can then get the right feed, give them a longer life and a happy life. I mean, it's not actually rocket science, but
no,
our industry does seem to always want to cut corners and always try and, but we've always been a bit, this is what we do. We're not going to cut corners, and that's why it's a bit more expensive. But you do get the right, you do get.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And of course, yes, the English label chicken is
Yeah.
in majority of the stores. I never got some
I think.
market store managers on there, but it's good for them to be able to know.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for supporting. I'm very passionate about the English label. It's something we've worked hard to bring back over the years. It was a brand that was started in 2000, the year 2000, by a friend of mine, and he's quite a bit older than me, and he unfortunately passed away in 2015. And the family asked if we would take the brand on, but we were literally selling. They were selling 300 chickens a week, and the quality was not very good at all. So we've worked hard to get the brand to where it is. And I really appreciate your support with English Label Chicken, because we think it's a great product, but it wouldn't be the same if you guys didn't support us. So thank you. But again, it's just a slow growing bird fed with a very natural feed, given lots of space to roam, and that fantastic life.
And am I correct in thinking that you worked, whether you still do now, but collaboratively with other farmers around you to get quality bedding and feeding? So that still is part of your ethos of the business.
Yeah, trying to get our oats farmed locally, as is our bedding. So yes.
What is the bedding?
Our bedding straw.
Straw.
Yeah. Although that comes from Northampton now.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
British.
So back to the turkeys. I know just before when everybody was coming on, and I know Louise, you're going to have loads of questions. We were talking about the plucking process and plucking by hand. So what happens when the turkey comes to end of life?
Right. we have just farmed out the processing. So up until 2 years ago, it was very. Where's Louise? It was very old, Louise. It was very old-fashioned. It took 25 people to pluck the turkeys. We did about 800 a day. But the pressures of the modern food safety people and everything else, we've sort of decided it's best. I'm not sure it's best, but we've ended up going to a commercial slaughterhouse now. Right. But the process, it's probably cleaner and quicker.
Yeah.
It's a shame to not do the way we did it, but it was also becoming, we're getting to detail now, but it's very hard to find English people to do that work. They just didn't, virtually impossible. So we had to use, we've always used Polish, and now after Brexit, the Polish cost, we have to pay a license fee, which is very expensive, £1,000 a person to bring them in. So all in all, everything's stacked against us now. Yeah. But there we go.
Yeah.
That's long.
But it's important to recognise and again understand the changes. But
changes and challenges are definitely is something that everyone's seen over the past couple of years, and it's even more of a reason why supporting yourselves and Adlington is something that is definitely a worthwhile thing, because there's passionate people behind it.
And I think this is the key, is that especially with the chicken, we put it with the chicken, is that although we don't farm chicken ourselves and we don't process them, when we stand behind everything that's farmed. So we have written the standards, they're farmed to our standards, that's checked regularly, they're processed to our standards. So you can actually influence the product by even though you don't do it yourselves.
No, and as you're well aware of from Mudwalls, as well as who are the sort of the facilitators of your products and Instacart stores, we have, just like yourselves, we've got our own standards and our own check that we come down. So there's never a question of either quality or food safety or quality of life or anything like that goes into your products, because we know how rigorously they're checked from yourself as the overseer of the producer to us as the overseer of the retail end of the retail life as well.
And this is really important as we get bigger, we get more wide range. It's important that no one wants any issues with.
No.
And your checks are fantastic. You're very stringent. It's important that the whole chain is governed, and that's why, in a way, with us moving our processing away, it feels a bit more comfortable because they're a big processor. They're used to dealing with, all the big integrators. So we feel that the whole role it's a very safe chain of supply.
Yeah.
There's no issues with should be no issues with any.
Yeah.
Not the ones before, but now it's almost.
And that's not a process to take away from the local / high welfare product itself. This is just a streamlining process so that you can do everything in the safest way possible, and outsourcing that sometimes is the safest way possible to give it to the hands of people that their speciality, whereas your speciality is rearing poultry and turkeys and so forth. The whole processing aspect of it is going to be someone's specialty, and it's utilising all of everyone's speciality to give the end customer the best quality product available.
And I think with English label, I think even though we don't farm it, I think our farming knowledge and passion really is what makes it doable. Now I can go and have a conversation. We have a fantastic grower of the chicken, and we sit down and a wonderful conversation about, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing I don't know about chicken really, and he doesn't either. So we understand each other. Whereas if you were just a marketeer, for example, it could be very, very, very different.
Yeah.
Of course, the last couple of years have brought so many challenges. We get from COVID, Brexit is referenced, isn't it? Bird flu. Yeah. What is there one particular challenge that has challenged you?
Well, bird flu was pretty horrific. Yes.
Yeah.
I think bird flu has really transformed the whole industry, really, and changed it beyond recognition, probably. I think we need to push forward through that, and then COVID was interesting, definitely. Again, with staffing, I think we all have that issue. So it has been very, and again, Brexit has changed things in bad ways and good ways. I think we need as farmers to really make sure we have food security on this island. We can't import everything, and it's an opportunity. I feel by being different with our poultry, it's an opportunity now after Brexit for us to really push forward, because the Europe will never be able to emulate what we do. They will never have any interest in emulating our standards. And there's no question the UK farming standards are the best in the world. And I've seen that. Through different things lately, I've been having more exposure to what's going on abroad. But we are just realise how far ahead. There's a very large the largest American turkey company trying to break into the UK market or thinking about it. And it's so big that it took a day for my colleague to walk across one of their factories. A day. It's just this one factory does 100,000 turkeys a day. But when you listen to the welfare standards and what they do, obviously they have. It's very much a factory, but they don't. It's all just about money. Bottom line. There's no, and again, it's just a product. It's pumped full of God knows what, So we need to try and our point of difference where we don't use antibiotics, but we fed naturally. The birds are. It's so different.
Yeah,
it's chalk and cheese.
And that really, isn't it? What the end consumer, isn't it? Yeah. We know that you've got a lot of loyal shoppers, and we have as well, and likewise in the mid-county schools who are passionate about supporting British farmers and British produce, because they understand that message. And now that food security is talked about a lot more, then
I'm really passionate about it. I think one day, if we're not careful, we will catch a cold. I'm not trying to be political, but we need to make sure that there are farmers left in the UK, because it doesn't take much in Europe to for them to not be there. And we saw that during bird flu. France completely dried up with their imports. We don't buy a lot of product from France. We buy not me, but as a country. But certainly, if Poland has another bird flu issue, it really does make it very difficult.
Well, before we open up the floor to some questions, have you got any questions for Rob? Put you on the spot there?
Yes, just a little bit. Obviously, I think, and I think everyone from a turkey, from a man that rears his own turkey as well. I think I'm curious to find out what your Christmas dinner, how you prepare your own turkey, Rod, for Christmas dinner. As a man who rears turkeys himself, I think it would be curious to find out how you or how your family prepares your turkey for Christmas dinner. If you are a turkey, or if you are a beef one, yeah, that would throw a spanner in the works.
I'm normally rocking quietly in the corner, so stressed out I can't move. But we always have a turkey, which I'm glad to hear, and cook it very slowly. Lots of basting, and we do the upside down method. So turn it upside down.
Yeah,
that's really key.
Yeah, that is really key.
Simple, but actually, when I say cook it slowly, don't cook it too slowly. So probably we wouldn't cook it till the morning, and probably 2.5 to 3 hours. But yeah, lots of oil and basting regularly. Salt and pepper, just natural seasonings.
The upside. I mean, I think that's my naivety of never having cooked a turkey in my life before, and I'll hold my hands up and say that one. But I'm sure there's everyone that might know the upside down method. But I mean, is that just turning it halfway through? Yeah.
So, well, you turn off you cook it mostly on its breast.
Okay.
So probably for the last half an hour, and then you need 2 people to come along and turn it. Quite interesting turning it back. You've got the hot thing.
Yeah, very yeah.
2 forks and you try and get it back on its.
But
it does seem to allow the breast, because you don't want the breast to dry out. So it shouldn't do.
No.
And then you after that take the tin foil off, and for the last half an hour just bake it.
As you would do, Christmas the top half of it. Yeah.
Bit of bacon on top and
bang on.
Yeah. Any lemons?
Possibly lemons and oranges.
Yeah.
The pieces.
Yeah. I put a carrot in mine as well, and a may. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So shall we open the floor up to some questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple that were sent to me to ask, if that's okay. I mean, a couple of them you've answered in the thing. So, how did it all come about? You working with the mid counties, becoming one of their local suppliers?
Yeah.
Good point, Karen. Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, you had a relationship, didn't you?
We had with George Beach and Mudwalls, and I think so we have worked with mid counties. I could get in trouble here, but we work in mid counties. We also have transport on the road as well. So we were doing some distribution to a different co-op, East Midlands co-op. So I think we were getting our name is being heard of in the co-op circles. And I think it was, I can't remember, we were asked to produce some poultry many years ago now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't answer that. It's so many Christmases ago, but yes, and it's just sort of growing. I mean, Mudwall's been fantastic in facilitating our growth. In fact, it makes it really, it's been that Mudwall where we are. So.
And I think just to help, it was about 2018 when really the Best of Our Counties brand was created for the county co-op, and that's when Addington came on board.
Yeah, the best utilisation of Addington was when that brand came on board, because it ticked all the boxes within the county sector as well, and it was a brand that's in 2018 when Mudwalls was obviously supplying the chickens into mid counties. Obviously, we almost put forward to champion alongside Rod Support as a brand that we know would fit that bill and showcase it to the best of its possibility.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. The other question I've got is sort of how much room do your turkeys have to roam in, sort of thing? I don't understand the size of acres and things like that, but sort of space wise, what have they got a massive big playground? I hear with the forks and see everything else that you've got going for them.
That's a really good question, and yeah, they have tons of room. But when you look at them, you think, they would barely fill. Oh well, a tenth of they're all out in the field together, which is very rare. They wouldn't even fill a tenth of the field, So they do like to run around. We do have rules we have to abide by. We have to have so much space, but we end up having more space because the field we've got is bigger. So they just tend to, they have a lot of space. And again, when they come in at night, they have to have a certain amount of space. So it's about 3 square foot per bird, but they just sort of, they're very sociable actually. They tend to work in social groups. So they tend to, it's quite bizarre. They like to rotate. So turkey sheds especially, and chickens don't do this, but turkey sheds need to be a certain width so that they can rotate round.
Oh, okay.
It's quite weird. They don't walk up and down. They all rotate round. If they're inside, so mostly.
Yeah.
But what they tend to do when you open the doors in the morning, they tend to all go out in the morning, have a look around, and then most of them come back in, and then whatever reason, then they go out again. But when they're inside, they do this sort of walking around business, which is quite bizarre. But anyway, so they're always moving, and they have, I say, and they just have a lovely life with it.
And how many turkeys is it in that one field you usually say?
There could be batches of on our small. We have different size pens. Our smallest pen is 500, so we tend to have the smaller ones in the smaller pens because we want to avoid any bullying. So unfortunately, with poultry, whatever, chickens are the same. If you're not careful, you end up with if they get used to bullying and it becomes. We want to avoid bullying because it can be really bad, really bad. Yeah. So, but it's actually habitual bullying, so they don't know they know it until they know it, and then once they find out what they're doing, they can really get to it. It can become quite a big problem. So we make sure that we have the same size turkeys and the same size pens, so that the big ones can't attack the small ones. And it just works. And again, give them lots of space and lots of things to play with, keeps them entertained. And that, if you know that you just keep them busy and keep them from getting into any bad habits.
Is that something you've learned over the years with regards to the bullying side of things and
it's horrendous. Oh, it's awful. And starts about, so it's also actually again the oats have helped. We always used to start about 12 weeks old. About 12 weeks old in September, the weather changes as well. Starts to get a bit colder, and they just start to do strange things. But yes, absolutely. Teenagers, teenagers. So you just tend to we just started to put again it's about keeping them busy. So the CDs in the roof, we put sprout tops in, bunch of nettles, anything to keep them entertained. And the biggest thing we ever did was making lots and lots of these the straw bale, we call them forts, and we didn't. So you literally build these, like when we were kids, you'd build straw bale forts. You'd build them all over the place, all over the shed, and they love those. They can also, they want to hide away, they can hide away, or it just keeps them entertained, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks. Dave, you've got a question?
Yeah. How do you remain on guard against avian influenza?
Good question. And unfortunately, we have experienced it 3 years ago now. It's very, very difficult. It's really, really difficult. All you can do is, we obviously have when you walk into a shed, you have all your overalls and wellies are in the shed. You don't wear anything from outside, even though you're going in. So most of the research points to the fact that it's spread by foot. So people bringing a problem from outside into the shed. So we have specific Wellingtons or shoes for each shed, making sure that wild birds can't get in, trying to scare wild birds off, bird scarers and things. What else? It is really difficult. There's not a lot. It does feel sometimes like you're just praying, really, because it's
a bit like
it's
TV.
And it's still not. They haven't really got. I mean, obviously we had a really bad year, or 2 really bad years as a country. This year there's been 2 cases so far. There's a case last week in Yorkshire. But again, when it was really bad, it was appearing in all sorts of weird places. It was appearing in some broiler chicken units, the really high intensity ones, where there was no outside access to anything. So, and people to get in there have to go through a shower. So clearly they get very high security. So there's still quite a lot of mystery about how it's spread and where it comes from. We're pretty sure it's spread by wild birds, but that wouldn't be the only. It's not the only way, we think. So there's research going on all the time, but it's not good. But thank
Difficult
you.
and unpleasant. No worries. Thank you.
Lou, you've got your hand up. You've got a question?
Yeah, how do you manage them, Rod, in the relentless wet weather we've had this year? My farmer, my husband works for a potato grower now, and they've had a hell of a time. And so, how do you manage the birds in all that relentless rain?
Well, it's been quite good this year. It's been quite dry recently, so not too bad. But yeah, I mean the rain, you just crack on really. You can't stop, and yeah, they're once they get past 12 weeks old, they're very hardy, and they will. I mean, if they don't want to go outside, they want to shelter inside, they'll do that, you know. So you just but inevitably they will go outside. So you just yeah, just have to get on, don't you? Stoical and British.
You don't get like cattle, if they get soaking wet and go in, they can be quite prone to pneumonia and things, can't they, when they're steaming and hot and build. That you don't have that problem with turkeys.
No, turkeys are. I mean, some people leave them outside totally. You know, or leave them farm them in woods or with very little shelter because they are outside birds. You know, and they will live outside quite happily, and their feet are really hardy. So you haven't got. And when they are in the shed, they're across them. They're pretty. What turkeys don't like is drafts. So if you can stop any drafts underneath the bedding, then if you've got airflow over the top, yeah, they're pretty hardy, very hardy actually. Once they get past 12 weeks, turkeys are a complete conundrum. Before 7 weeks, they're a nightmare. They just want to die. Past 12 weeks, they're actually really quite strong.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Rod. As I have got a couple more questions, but before I monopolise the whole thing, has anybody else got any questions at all? You can take your mics off and ask, or put your hand up. If not, I'm going to dive in.
Yeah,
Simon?
sorry, it's only Simon. Yeah, but we get the obviously when they come into the store, they're in the nice cardboard packaging and the boxes, and it's always just something I can't get my head around. Is that obviously we get the Co-op turkeys are in like gas flushed plastic wrapping, and it just how do yours last as long, if not longer, than the Co-op standard packaging when they're not gas flushed, etc.? Is that just down to the nature of the product, or?
Yeah, it's a very good question. They are because they're a traditional turkey. They have a very different fat layer. They're very. So I'm not knocking. I don't know who supplies the Co-op mainstream turkey, but I'm very careful what I say. I don't want to down anybody, but ours have a very natural feed, which puts on a different fat layer. So the fat layer is more. It's not hard fat, but it's a very different fat. I should know the technical terms of this. Sorry. So it's a much more they're much more stable product. They have much, so also the oat feeding gives them 25% more shelf life.
Really?
And the traditional breed means that the whole, so you have the oat feeding traditional breed, that their main food is very natural as well, and they're not, because they are slow growing, they are just a really sturdy, hardy product, and they're almost better out of polythene. They don't need to go in polythene. That almost doesn't damage really. So whereas the other turkeys, they're producing lots of them, aren't they? So they're produced tens of thousands a day potentially. So they tend to be on a commercial. They have to go through a certain process. They have to go in a bag. They have to be blast chilled. You see, we cool ours very slowly as well. We don't have to blast chill them. Even though we're going through a different slaughterhouse now, they're still not blast chilled. They're just chilled slowly overnight rather than being. So it's a really good question. There's many factors. Many factors add up to why, but probably the traditional bird and natural feed is the main difference.
So it's all just fantastic to hear that you get extra life from not really interfering with the bird at all.
Yeah.
It's much, you're getting a much more heartier, well-sustained bird from really doing nothing to it bar feeding it and rearing it giving it a happy life and it being the breed that it is. So that's
slow. It's slow growing. So
yeah,
I think the commercial breeds put the fat on really quickly, or the meat and the fat. So our turkeys naturally, I mean, you couldn't push our turkeys. You just couldn't. They do what they do. You cannot force them to grow any faster than they grow. Whereas with the more commercial turkeys, you can feed them a higher protein diet, and they will put weight on quicker, which means more fat as well. So it's yeah, it's a different.
Yeah.
That's great. It's really interesting. Thank you.
I've got another question that is for myself, actually, after listening to you talk. You said about a colleague going over to America and looking at their facilities. Do you ever go out and visit other countries to see if they're doing anything differently to what you're doing, to, you know, any new tricks or things, or?
That's a really good question. I probably should do more of it, but I have been to Germany. I've got a friend in Germany who he just farms his turkeys just to smoke them. He has his own on-farm shop, and he always turkeys go to his shop. Doesn't sell them to wholesale, and he smokes them and he smokes and cooks every single one, and that's a fantastic trade through this shop. It's amazing. So he was very similar to us, apart from because of their very cold winters, he has to heat the sheds. So that was interesting. The French and the Polish tend to be all commercial turkeys, so it's really not overly pleasant. The turkeys are really under false light. They never see daylight, and it's not something really I was very impressed with. I have been to Ireland. Ireland was massive in turkeys 20 years ago. More turkeys in Ireland than anything else. That's now really changed. There's not as many now, but again, they were all quite commercial. So I don't know. It's not. It gives you heart in what you're doing. Really, it makes you realise that. I mean, honestly, you walk into a shed, and you can barely walk through the shed. There's so many turkeys. It doesn't feel right to me at all. They're just crammed in. It's not illegal, but it's just doesn't feel right. No, it's not great. And turkeys can't act in their normal. They want to act in a normal way with this walking around rotation or whatever they're doing, and it's just these stocking densities make it. It's not great. So
Good. And I've got one more question. Sorry.
What?
How many times a year do you have regulators coming in to check the farm and everything?
Yeah, so it depends. We tend to be on a bit of a. They don't come every year. You're on a bit of we have a local ministry vet who can pop in any time. Then we get checked for salmonella testing. So they come in and they do a salmonella test. So they put this quite a weird one. They're looking for salmonella in the turkey feces. So they walk around the shed with their special boots on, and they put a special covering on the boots, and those coverings get taken off and sent over to Central Cross for testing. So we get salmonella tested. So every flock salmonella tested. What else? And yes, I mean they can inspect at any time. Every single poultry keeper now has to be registered. That's quite new. Wasn't that many years ago, it was only anyone holding above 250. But now, even if you've got 2 chickens in your back garden, you're supposed to register it ever since the bird flu outbreak. So they all know where we are and where the poultry are. And the ministry they can be quite fierce if they want to be. I mean, if they want to come and have a look, they'll come and have a look, But we've obviously never had any issues. It's
No.
The
So they
worry
can potentially just do a spot check at any time, can they?
Yes, I mean, we tend to just see your local ministry vet and our ministry chap, and he'll come and have a look, and they're normally great. I mean, they do seem to be becoming more and more. What's the word? Fierce, tricky. But that's if they want to do that, that's fine. I mean, we're nothing to hide, so crack on. But it's I think the one that does concern this is the salmonella testing, because it seems that whatever you try and however good salmonella is a bit like bird flu. You can sort of, obviously it's right they pick it up, but if you do get it, then it's a big issue. So if it is picked up in your flock, it's very rare to pick. If you do, the standards are great. You've got clean, bedding down, because we bed the turkeys down every day. The turkeys get fresh bedding, so they get checked twice a day. So if you're keeping to that simple standard, you shouldn't get any of these issues. But then again, strange things happen occasionally, for no reason. So it is a concern, but it's also right they're checking for it as well, and that's why
absolutely.
our UK standards are so high, because other countries don't. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Roo, you've got a question?
Yeah, this is off my husband. He said, do you have a mixture of hen and stag birds or just hens?
We do, yes, good question, Louise. Yes, so most of the small birds are hens. So there's a strange issue. Well, strange. This issue every year. We're trying to get the 8 kilo weight band is really difficult. So we actually use a male turkey from a small strain hen. So we use the male. Can't remember which breed it is, but we use the male off the smaller strain breed to give us the 8 kilo bird, because it's very difficult to get a hen, well, that big that isn't going to go too. It's very hard to explain, but when I get to 8, 9, 10, those weights are quite tricky to produce for lots of different reasons. So, but mostly hens. I would say 80%, 85% hens. Yeah. Although there's no reason the stags are the same and as good, but you just need to make sure they're fully finished.
There's no difference in taste to a stag than to a hen. Like, like with a chicken, you got chicken and a cock will affect them.
Yeah, they're both the same thing, and because they're 22 weeks old, everything's finished. It's for us, the biggest issue for us is trying to get that weight range, and that's what stresses most turkey farmers out, to be honest.
Yeah.
But everything else, trying to produce a weight range which you have the right amount of turkeys in each weight range it's a nightmare. And then how many years you've been doing it, you'll never, very rare, get it right. There's always a gap somewhere in your weight range for whatever reason.
This is where Rod will tell you the best weight range to flog, so that he can make sure that that you've got enough, can get enough of the right ones.
Well, we went to an event, so most turkey farmers have their own self-built turkey stock system. So we had one built for us a few years ago, and come December, you spend the whole time looking at it, and you become literally. And it shows you where the gaps are in the weight, and obviously also, I mean, it only takes, and this is the problem. It only takes Jamie Oliver or someone or a TV chef to go on TV and say, "Oh, you don't need an 8 kilo turkey, you need a 5 kilo turkey," which happened just about 6 years ago. We did that, and oh my life! Suddenly, everyone's buying 5 kilo turkeys, not 8 kilo turkeys, and you're left with all these big ones and small ones. But already, I mean, I think I've got more bottle of about this, but I mean, already this year, we predicted, because of the people are short of money, we predicted we'd sell more small turkeys, and looking at the moment, selling more big turkeys than last year, a lot more. So who can tell?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So small turkeys, then he's off to you. Much of a small turkey he's got some of them left there.
And I have a question, because you mentioned, you have your water, people don't know talking about how the longevity of the brand, how you like to do things differently.
Yeah.
And the 3 bird roast that's on the uniform, that is a good example of
Yes.
doing things differently. So again, I know that certainly when I've been in stores, and sometimes customers are not sure what is the 3 bird roast?
Yeah. Well, these, I mean, I don't remember, but these multi-bird roasts were a bit of a fad a few years ago. So we used to do a 3 bird roast, a 5 bird, and we even did a 10 bird roast once, which was it was huge.
I was going to say, it sounds
It took about 2 days to cook, and it was utterly ridiculous, really. But as time's gone on, and those people have sort of people's tastes change. I mean, bizarrely this year, but I'm not sure. I don't think. Well,
It's on the list. It's on the list. Yeah.
But I mean, this year's fashion at the moment is, and I'm not going to set your hairs running because it's not on the list, but is sous vide cooked turkey. So, but that might run for next year. That's just suddenly emerging. So there's always changing fashions, isn't there?
Yeah.
And things changing. But the 3 bird roast, to come back to that, has withstood the test of time. And year on year on year, we still sell a lot of our duck 3 bird roast. So it's an English duck. So we bone the duck out, and then we put a layer of our handmade pork stuffing, and then we put turkey. Actually, we put a turkey, a battered out turkey steak, and then we put some more stuffing, and then we put guinea fowl breast in the middle, and then roll them all up, and it looks like a duck, but it's boneless, so you can carve all the way through it. So there's the only bones are in the drumstick. So it's really easy to cook, really easy to serve, and it's probably it's only 2.5 kilos, so cooks down. It's lovely and moist and juicy and all this stuff. And it probably wouldn't be the main. It would only feed sort of maybe 6 people, but certainly has a going along with something else on the Christmas table. It's a really good. And every year we get asked for them. It's the only 3. It's only multi-bird roast we do every year now. Although we have I've relented and I have done, we've made 15 6-bird roast this year, but I had to really have my arm put my back to do it for somebody. I've done them. But yeah.
It's also fantastic to know that obviously the 3 birds roast that's on the pre-order form for the guys to sort of to showcase in store or for people to order online and stuff like that, is that it's not got any bones in. You know, that's something that is probably a very key selling point for that 3 bird roast, is that it is easy to cut. It's all ready from that point of view as well. So you know,
and it's really easy to cook as well. It's just easy. It's sort of, and because the duck fibre is fat, it doesn't need much. You don't have to worry about it drying out. Just shove it in the oven, bit of tin foil, and off you go, and you'll have
We go. We expect to see loads of orders coming through for the 3 bird roast.
How many can you?
Sounds amazing.
And they come in a really nice box as well, so quite nice. The present, it's sort of a different thing for a present.
Brilliant. Right, well, we are nearly out of time, so I'd just like to thank Nikki and Rod for tonight. That has been really good. I've really enjoyed that session. It's been really informative. Thanks to our members that have taken the time out to join us this evening. We will get your codes out to you by Friday for your discount for any online orders that you do for your poultry from Adlingtons. So by Friday, you will have an email from myself, Karen McNeil, that will have your codes on. So thank you ever so much. And thank you guys again for your time for doing this for us this evening. It's been really good. And Rod, what you don't know about turkeys ain't worth knowing, quite frankly. So,
well, thank you, Karen. But thank you all to you guys for supporting our brand. It really does means the world to us. So thank you so much.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Take care. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Good night. Bye-bye. Stop that recording.